Have you seen the fairies dance upon a summer's night, and watched the gnomes and pixies prance whenever the moon is bright? 'Tis splendid fun to see them run as soon as it grows light. One evening Sister May and I went out soon after 10. The moon hung like a ball on high above the fairy glen. And round upon the ground danced fays and elfin men. And there, at dawn, they leave behind a ring of toadstools wee. Where they have danced, you'll always find this mark for folks to see. Then off they fly into the sky, just as the clock strikes 3. Hello and welcome to a cornucopia of tales and tellers, and a warm welcome to this episode all about fantastic creatures, legendary creatures, mythological creatures. So, this is the second episode about this theme. And in last episode, we shared 3 stories from different cultures over the world about these creatures, this kind of creatures. So, fantastic creatures, mythological creatures, legendary creatures. I shared a story from India about a flying bull. Then David shared a story about a ghoul from Africa. And Despina shared a story about the sirens, a story from Greece. This episode is going to be a bit different from the past one, as we're going to focus on not different creatures from all over the world, but on just one creature, the fairy. And we've got a fantastic story from our own Alan, who is going to tell us a story, a strange story about Irish fae folk. Well, they they do strange things in Ireland. And well, he tells us about the time he was asked to referee a game. Wow. All right. Then, before the introductions, you heard me recite a poem by Eugenie Thornton, and this is titled The Fairy Ring. At the end of the episode, you will also hear another poem, this time by William Butler Yeats, and this poem is titled The Stolen Child. But now, before we move on to the stories, what are fairies? And well, we could spend days and days talking about fairies, but just for a short introduction. Well, fairies are mythological and legendary creatures. They are creatures that are found, well, particularly in Celtic folklore. They are very big in stories from Ireland, for example, as you might have heard from Alan. Alan always tells us about the fairies that he met and how he was washed by the fairies, but fortunately, he was saved by a thorn that he still got in his neck. And you might have heard him tell other fairy stories. But fairies are not only found in Celtic folklore, we can find them in Slavic folklore, in Germanic folklore, but they are also found in other folklores and in other cultures. So let's think, for example, about the nymphs in Greek mythology, or about the genies in Arabic folklore. And in Arabic folklore, for example, these fairies are fantastic creatures that grant wishes to people who ask for them. And we can find them in other cultures and folklores from all over the world. But the thing that assimilates them in all of these cultures, in all of these folklores, is that they are supernatural beings and they've got powers. There are also certain beliefs and traditions connected to the fairies, but for now we'll not go into them. Before we share the story told by Alan and the poem by Yeats, we I'd like to share something with you. I'd like to share this realization I had while researching information about the fairies for this episode, which is that fairies are nowadays seen as nice creatures, cute creatures, small, kind, but it hasn't always been like this. Fairies have always been scary creatures, uh, creatures that were mischievous. They wanted to do something bad to us. We had to ward fairies off. And there were some places, and there still are some places that are thought to be enchanted by fairies. They are property of fairies, fairyland. And if you cross the fairies, oh gosh, what could happen to you? And well, we now have these thoughts that fairies are good, and this is all because of their representation that fairy had from the 20th century onwards. Because let's think about, for example, the fairy in Cinderella. Ask a child, go ask a child, is the fairy in Cinderella good or bad? Well, the fairy in Cinderella is absolutely good. She helps Cinderella. She's a nice old lady who just waves her wand, and something good happens for Cinderella, who is poor and nobody likes her. Same thing, once again. Let's think about the tooth fairy. Go ask a child, is a tooth fairy good? And of course they will say it's good. The tooth fairy exchanges teeth, which we don't really need after, well, they're not in our mouth anymore, with coins or with small toys. That's fantastic. But it hasn't always been like this. But well, this was just a thought to leave you with. But now, grab a cup of tea, chai, water, or uske breatha, relax, and enjoy hearing tales that have been handed down generations, or even ones that were dreamt up yesterday. Enjoy.
Or not that long ago, maybe. There was one time I was coming back from the pub, walking down the wee country lane, as you do. And let's be honest, I'd had a few wee jars. But where I lived, there was a wee country lane that only had my house on it. There was no neighbours, other houses, other farms. There might have been the odd animal, maybe a fox or two would walk past, but you never seen another person, unless it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon and the postman was coming down the other way and the dog was trying to tear his legs off, which still happens. But when I was coming back that night, there was a lad leaning against one of the trees, which, even though it was late at night, I could just about make him out, and that was very, very uncomfortable. And he wasn't just leaning against any tree, he was leaning against the white thorn bush. Otherwise, you might know it as a fairy tree, which is a kind of tree you do not mess with in Ireland. He spots me coming down the lane and he shouts, "Here, been waiting on you." Waiting on me? couldn't have waited on me at the house, no. Like, no, no, I need you to come do a thing for me. Okay. I'm not too sure what's going on here. What's the thing? And then he says, sure, come through the hedge here and I'll show you. Okay. So I follows him through the hedge, which is something I shouldn't have done anyway, knowing that there's a field of cows the other side of the hedge. But I followed him and there wasn't. In fact, there was something very different from what I expected in the field. Because what there was instead was a GAA pitch, a Gaelic hurling pitch, with two teams on the pitch, with the goals as well, and oddly enough, with two small numbered crowds. This was very strange, because this was my field. So he walks me into the centre of the pitch, and he goes, here, look, the Faeries of Derry are playing against the Faeries of Antrim tonight, and the referee didn't show up. He's from Donegal, so maybe he forgot his watch. Who knows? We need you to referee the match. So at this point, there's a lot of information going into my head that I need to get right. One, okay, these guys are the Faeries, so that's not good. I'm in a bit of trouble here. Two, they're playing a hurling match on my field. Three, don't question that, or you'll be in even more trouble. And four, I don't have a whistle. And five, I'm probably going to need the bathroom because I've had a lot of pints. Right. First things first, I'm just going to have to be nice and referee the hurling match. So he hands me a whistle. And because I know you shouldn't be taking any water or food off the ferries or you're never getting back. And the teams tog out and take their positions on the pitch. Okay, fair enough. So I start the match and we play a game of hurling, as you do. And I thought nothing of it. Well, I did think things of it because it turns out it was the highest quality hurling match I'd probably ever watched. There was points going in from all over the place. There was goals going in from all over the place. There was passing, there was playing, there was tackling that you'd never seen anywhere. It was fantastic. And then it blew for half time. And they went off in the huddle one side, and the other team went off in the huddle the other side of the pitch. And I stood in the middle with no one around me for about 15 minutes. It was a bit weird and extremely uncomfortable. But then the 15 minutes sort of, I got my breath back, they got their breath back, and we went on for the second half. And again, there was this fantastic game of hurling took place in front of my eyes. Very clean game. Great points, great passing, great tackling. It was all very clean, very fair. And then I looked at me watch, and I thought, hang on, there's about 3 minutes left. One of these teams is a point ahead of the other team. So what happens if one team wins and one team loses? Does that mean there's going to be 15 fairies from one county are going to be really angry at me? Or 15 fairies from the other county are going to be really angry at me? I'm from County Antrim. Do I bend the rules for the County Antrim team? Do I bend the rules for the Derry team? I don't know. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Am I going to be able to go home here? Am I going to be able to have a cup of tea before I go home? So I was getting a wee bit worried. Then, luckily enough, the team that was a point down caught possession, smacked it over the black spot, even the scores. I'm like, right, I'll play on for another 20 seconds here, full time. Hopefully nobody looks at the watch, and we'll call it a day, call it a draw. Luckily enough, the team that just conceded the point couldn't get down the pitch fast enough to score again, so I just went, that'll do. Game over. Draw. Luckily enough, everybody came up to me afterwards and shook my hand. Said, oh, thanks very much. Really great match. Great match. Thanks for refereeing. A lot of them were saying, if you ever want to do that again, which I definitely don't, you're more than welcome to join us. It was grand. Everybody seemed to go off and do their own thing. So your boy that was waiting for me came up to me again after the match. I gave him the whistle back. Look, thanks very much, but I'm going to head home if you don't mind. And he was, oh, sure, that's grand. Here, look, if you want to referee another match, just give us a shout. Ah, sure, I'll see what I'm up to in the future, I said quite nervously, knowing that I'm Going to take a different commute home from now on. Sure, see what happened. Can I just go through the hole in the hedge there to get home again? He goes, "Aye, sure, go ahead." And I did. So I came up out through the ditch again, back onto my wee lane, and headed home. The next day, I went to see what was going on. So I walked the dog down to where he was waiting for me. Dog didn't even notice anything. And then, like an idiot, I climbed through the hole in the hedge again just to see what was going on, only to be met by two very confused and very out of place cows. No sign of any goals, any nets, any posts, any hurleys, any schlitters, nothing. Just a field of a couple of confused looking cows and me. Don't think I'll be going down that lane after having a lock of pints anymore. But you never want to cross the Faeries in Ireland. Always stay on their good side. And you never want to owe them anything either.
Where dips the rocky highland of Sleuth Wood in the lake, there lies a leafy island where flapping herons wake. The drowsy water rats therewith heat their fiery vats, full of berries and of reddest stolen cherries. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Where the wave of moonlight glosses the dim grey sands with light, far off by farthest rosses, we footed all the night, weaving olden dances, mingling hands and mingling glances, till the moon has taken flight. To and fro we leap, and chase the frothy bubbles, while the world is full of troubles, and anxious in its sleep. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Where the wandering water gushes from the hills above Glencar, in pools among the rushes that scarce could bathe the stars, we seek for slumbering trout, and whispering in their ears, give them unquiet dreams, leaning softly out from ferns that drop their tears over the young streams. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Away with us he's going, the sullen night. He'll hear no more the lowing of the calves on the warm hillside, or the cattle on the hob sing peace into his breast, or see the brown mice bob round and round the oatmeal chest. For he comes, the human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than he can understand. The Cornucopia of Tales and Tellers is a passion project brought to you by English teachers Alan and Simona, who want to create a compilation, or cornucopia, if you will, of stories from all around the world and by as many tellers from around the world as possible. So grab a cup of tea, chai, water, or uska breha, relax, and enjoy hearing tales that have been handed down for generations, or even ones that were dreamt up yesterday. Music is by Purple Planet. You can find us on Facebook at Cornucopia of Tales and Tellers. And if you like what you hear, you can buy us a coffee or cup of tea, if you prefer, to help fund future episodes and the hosting of our podcast. Link in the description.